Hey there, my name is Claire Maxwell at Embodied Learning Systems. Today's video is about when thoracic outlet syndrome symptoms aren't resolving and how the Alexander technique can be a wonderful intervention between the original physical therapy you might have had and then what comes next, which is often injections of some kind or surgery to address the compression that's been going on. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what thoracic outlet syndrome is, but if you have any questions about it, it's pretty much a different kinds of issues that arise when the nerves and arteries and blood veins that are going from the head and neck down under the collarbone to supply your arms, when those nerves get compressed and when those arteries and veins get compressed, there are different symptoms like tingling and pain and circulation issues. And so there can be a lot of fear and anxiety around this, like, do I have thoracic outlet syndrome? And so I think there's some really useful explorations that you can do to find out what you can do for yourself to help resolve symptoms. But in all cases, if anybody comes to me as a student, I always make sure that they've seen a doctor, that they've had some images taken, that they've done their PT. And so where I like to come in is in this little window of like, okay, now I know what it is, I know what the options are, and now I have a lot of choices to make and I don't really know what to do. So what I would like to do is show you kind of the number one misunderstanding that I see people having about how to help themselves when they've got these issues, and then a playful way that my mobile body alignment work can help and hopefully give you something you can go away and try. So here's what I mostly see people trying to do. So the big topic today, or the kind of part of your body that we're looking at, is your collarbones. And if you want to feel them, you can just tap and you can kind of feel the vibrations in them. They're quite beautiful. And on some people, they're not as easy to find as others. Maybe you're really muscly or strong, but they're there. And if you can find where you think they are, you ought to be able to raise them up and lower them down. So when we have compression underneath them, between the collarbones and the ribs, what people tend to do is they think about widening the collarbones to try to make space in the front. But the problem is we're three-dimensional beings. And so when you try to pull the collarbones apart, if you look at what's actually happening, is that whole rib cage is being pulled forward and kind of shoved into your collarbones. And that actually can make the problem worse. So if you get anything out of this video, is maybe you can stop doing that. And one way to stop doing that is just to not try to open your chest. So that'll save you some energy. But then that can be confusing because then it kind of feels like you're slumping. So if you put your fingers on these two little bones here and you kind of feel them moving, there's a reason that they're there, and that's because they help you balance. And so if you take a kind of a wide stance with your feet wide apart, and you just play with kind of sliding back and forth over your ankles and your hips, like, whoa, maybe like you're on the deck of a ship, you know. Just try this movement, or maybe you're like on a surfboard or a skateboard, and see what is happening in your collarbones. What is happening there? And then quiet your movement down and come to a still place. Now, if you take those collarbones and you try to pull them apart and you keep that shape, so this is often what I see people doing because they know they need that space. It's very understandable. And you keep that shape, and then you try to go back and forth. There's a lot of tension, and what you might start to feel is that there is compression, right? And so what happens when you let this whole area move? So if you do a little mini squat like this, and you just let the weight of your hand hang down, and just kind of do a circle, and maybe try the other one. What you're actually doing is creating some space in there. And what you might notice is that when your arms hang, they hang kind of like gorilla arms. And so just take that gorilla hand and explore folding it and extending it and folding it and extending it and folding it and extending it. So when you extend it, what happens is these beautiful bones here, they actually come forward and kind of together. And it's quite a nice movement to do. And so now you may have a little memory of the gorilla, kind of feeling of the gorilla arms. And you've restored through mobility some sensory capacity to actually feel what's going on here. And that's going to help you because mobility restores sensitivity. And the more sensitivity you have, the less likely you're going to be to lock that area down or compress that area between your collarbones and your three-dimensional rib cage. So you can always return to those beautiful little, I call them mobile body alignment points because they move and relate to each other of your collarbones. And as you walk down the street or go through your day or reach for a teaching tool, you can begin to see that when you move your hands, this collarbone point moves and it just slides around on top of your rib cage and it's not stuck there in place. I hope that was helpful. If you think that an Alexander lesson could be a helpful intervention for you, if you're trying to make some decisions about PT or surgery or what to do next, with thoracic outlet syndrome or other arm challenges that you may have, I hope you'll check out the Alexander technique. If you look in the box below, you'll see a link to my website, and you can book a 15-minute free online consultation. I'm happy to point you to somebody in your area where you live. I teach online. I teach in Manhattan. This work can really help you make better decisions about your health. Okay, peace and love. I hope that was helpful.